Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we're zoologists on a mission to study different animal species. Now you'll be earning points by researching animals, completing secret quests, and preparing for the epic endgame scoring. Now it combines competition and education, offering the players the opportunity to travel, conduct research, complete quests, and learn amazing facts about animals along the way. Nice to Know Animals is a card game that aims to provide unique facts about the animals, and it's the first game in the Nice to Know series. It's for 1 to 6 players, it takes 15 minutes per player to play, it's for ages 8 and up, and published by Half Games. Now it's being crowdfunded right now, so I'm going to show you how it works, and I'll see you on the other side. This is a crowdfunding preview, so all the art and components you see here, they're not final. These are prototypes. To see all the most up-to-date art and components and the things available in different pledge levels, check the link in the description of this video. Now each player is going to be able to select a token to be them in the game that's going to be traveling around the map. You could be the western gorilla, the greater flamingo, the koala, the giant panda, king penguin, giraffe, the kangaroo, the zebra, caretta, lion, white rhinoceros, and sloth. And these actually act as a player aid for each player as well. And here's a closer look at all these different meeples that you get to pick which one you want to be. Now there's a board and you're going to be traveling to different continents to research different animals, and you're going to be tracking researched animals and endangered species as well. Now there are a ton of animal cards in the game, close to 200, but check the link in the description to see the project page to see how many are actually in the final game. So here we can see the lion and the llama and the water deer, the Tasmanian devil, the cheetah, the rock hyrax, the western gorilla, the saltwater crocodile, and the griffin vulture. Let's take a closer look at some of these. Now when we look at these animals a little closer, we'll see a lot of different things. Number one is it tells you what continent or continents they're on, like multiples. Some of them might even say all world, which means they can be found in any continent. That's going to be important when you go to the right continent to go see them and research them. They're going to be worth a certain amount of points if you've been able to research them. They're going to have a nice to know fact. So it's going to have a thing about it, about the animal itself that you'll learn from. It also has things about like how big they are from the head to the tail, for example, or how much they weigh. If it's a bird, it'll have their wingspan and such. It'll also talk about their diet, whether they're an herbivore. And some of them might be endangered. If you see a single sad face, this essentially is endangered, and there's fewer than 2,500 mature individuals currently alive. But you might see 2 sad faces, and it's critically endangered, and there's fewer than 250 of these. Now on your turn, you can do one of 2 things. You're going to study or you're going to research. At the beginning of the game, you don't have any research experience, so you must study. To study, you're going to take one of the animals in any of these 3 rows, and depending on which row you take them in, you'll get a certain amount of experience points as shown here on the board. So you'll get 1, 2, or 3 if you take and study one of the ones in these rows. So I would get 1 if I got one of these, 2 if I took one of these, or 3 if I took one of these and studied them. Now to do that, let's just say we did that. Let's say we took the saltwater crocodile. We are going to study. What you do is you take this card, you actually discard it, and we're going to get 3 research experience. And so you'll take that from the supply. Here is 3 of those. Now I have a few of these stacks set up all around the table so everyone can reach them. That's a supply of research experience, sort of a currency in the game. And you can't have more than 12 research experience. So what's going to happen is these are now going to slide down. And then we're going to pull one off here off the top of the deck. We have a fairy penguin. It'll be the next player's turn. So again, on your turn, studying or researching. Studying gains you the research experience. Research, you're spending that research experience. And it will cost 1, 3, or 5 depending on whether you're researching the bottom row, middle row, or the top row. And as you can see, it costs more the higher they are, because these are the newest ones to the field here. And so they're new. If you really want them bad, you're going to need to spend a little bit more, or you can kind of wait until they kind of go down a little bit, become a little bit cheaper in research experience to be able to research, but that means other players might get them before you. So there is some strategy there even as to how long do you wait to research the one that you want. So let's say I want to research this Tasmanian devil. Now it's going to cost me 3, and I had 3, so I would take the 3 that I got last turn, put it down here, And let's say that I'm going to research. Now, obviously there would have been other players' turns between my first turn and this turn, and some of these animals, more of them would have been sort of taken and replaced and such. But let's just say this is the way it looked on my next turn, and I'm going to research this. Now, it's my first time researching, and I'm not on the map yet. So in this case, I'm going to go right to Australia where this Tasmanian devil lives. So I'm going to place this here. So now I place this in front of me, and I can start grouping these animals any way I want, like by continent, maybe by animal type, maybe by food type, whatever. Now this also tells you how many there are in the game. There's only one of these. And at the beginning of the game, you also get 2 quest cards to select. I selected this one. At the end of the game, I get to decide which one of these 2 things I want to do. Like research 5 animals living in Australia. So I already got one. That's why I picked that one. It's because I had this. This is a secret goal. Only you know it. But at the end of the game, I could choose either of these. Now, a lot of them are very easy to see, like 5 animals living in Australia. Sometimes it's like what type of food they eat, things like that. They're usually easier to see, like, hey, 7 animals that are only carnivores. But the other side tend to be things that you need to read the facts to know, like research an animal that keeps their eggs inside themselves until they hatch. Or maybe research an animal that has mostly female babies because of global warming. And so these you're going to learn from the nice to know facts on the card, so you really need to read these. This one says they have the strongest bite of any living animal for its size. So you really are engaged into what these animals actually do because they might turn into points for you at the end. Now, at the end of the game, if I do get this, it's going to be worth 10 points, for example. And remember, these are secret. Now, next turn, I won't have any research experience, but let's say I got some more. I am here in Australia. If I'm in Australia, I can research another Australian animal because I'm there. But if I wanted to research an animal in a different continent, now let's say we want to get this and go to Africa, right? Well, if there's a sponsored flight in the same row, now we'd still spend the same research experience. So I'd spend 3 because it's the middle row. I want to go to Africa, but there's a sponsored flight here. This is another reason why sometimes you might wait for an animal to come down and be in the right row so that you can get a sponsored flight because it doesn't cost you anything extra. I would spend that same 3 research experience and get this, but I would also get this sponsored flight because it's taking me there. And again, this is just going to get me points at the end of the game. And so as you can see, you're building up sort of a little bit of a tableau here. However, let's say there was no sponsored flight. We really wanted to go here to go to Africa. We'd have to pay the normal research experience, which in the middle row is 3. But since there's no sponsored flight there, you always have to pay 9 more in order to go. And remember, you can only have a max of 12, so it's unless you get that sponsored flight, it's going to be tough to move. But either way, when we do go there, we would actually then move our meeple to that continent when we do that. But it's more expensive if you can't get a sponsored flight. Now, if you research an animal, it's going to go up 1. But if you research an endangered animal, this will go up 1. And over the course of time, this is going to go up 1 only if you have more than this. So right now, this is at 1 because this is 0, this is at 1. If someone gets a second animal, they're going to move it here. Okay? It's basically tracking the most animals any one player has or the most endangered animals any player has. However, sometimes it's going to go where these yellow cubes are, and this is the invitation. Now that player is going to take that cube, which is essentially going to be worth 2 points at the end. And this is essentially an invitation from universities and organizations that recognize your expertise, and they're extending you invitations to conduct animal research on their continents. Then also you look at every continent that doesn't have anybody on it, and you'll place another one of these. And so then the first player to go there, or the next player to go to one of these continents to research an animal, they get to pick them up. But sometimes there'll be multiples of them because this phase triggers multiple times throughout the game. And you don't even have to use these cubes or this whole invitation phase if you're playing with kids, and you can also use a simpler scoring system at the end as well. And this will continue, players taking turns clockwise until one of 2 things happens. Either this animal research tracker goes all the way up to the 18th, meaning any one player has 18 animals, or if any one player has 5 endangered animals. That will end the game. Then you're going to go to scoring. There's a nice little scoreboard or score pad here. And you're going to be able to score one side of your quests. And you're saying, well, how do we get so many quests? Well, if you ever research the same animal twice, you get to pull 2 quests and keep 1. So you've got some planning going on. But you can only score at most 3 of your quests and only 1 side of those. And as you can see, there's many different goals. And there were certain points depending on which side you did. You're also going to be getting points for all the cards that you've gotten. You'll be getting 5 points, whoever has the most of these sponsored flight cards. Now remember, they're food, so we have herbivores, we have carnivores. Whoever has the most carnivores gets 5 points, whoever has the most herbivores gets 5 points. Now remember, there's also endangered. And some of the cards, as I showed earlier, have multiple. You cut up all your sad faces, which shows you the endangered sad face, and you'll get 3 points if you have the most of those. You'll also get 2 points for each of those invitation cubes you've got. Then players are going to group together all of the animals that they've researched, and this is sort of like a mini game within the end scoring. Now what I've done is I put them by continents. I have 2 in Africa, 2 in Australia. This one is South America. Again, if there's multiples, this one has to be in one of those 2. I said South America. This one is North America. Here, all world, could be anything. So this is my North America continent. Here I have Europe. Europe, I'm going to have this one be Europe. This one's going to be all world, so this is Europe. 2 in Antarctica, 2 in Asia. Now, if you have at least 2 in all 7 continents, you get 30 points. If you have them in 6, you get 20 points. If you have them in 5 continents, you get 15 points. But then, if you have the most in any of the continents, meaning more than everyone else, you get 5 additional points for every continent you have more than everyone else. And whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. If it's tied, the one with the most research experience points wins. If it's still tied, the one with the most cubes of those invitation certificates wins. If it's still tied, the most sponsored flight card wins. And if it's still tied, you share the victory. Now, if you play with kids, you can do simple scoring, which is you don't do any of that grouping at the end I just mentioned. You can do an unlimited amount of quests, but only the ones on the top, which is more about reading and learning about the cards. And if there's any ties for whoever has the most of things, then you split the points rounding up. Now, there are rules for a specific solo experience. I'm not going to go into the details of these. You can look these up on the crowdfunding campaign. But there are different levels, and you get these nice little stickers if you beat them if you beat the artificial animal in a certain way. Well, there you have nice to know animals. And as I showed in the overview, this game is for everyone. Families, kids, and it has a smooth game flow that's easy to learn. Now, it's not a trivia game, but a competitive way to learn facts about animals, with the endgame scoring being another game on its own. Now, all the cards have unique facts, and this is the first in the Nice to Know series, and there's many more games to follow, including Cosmos, Bacteria, Insects, Plants, SeaWorld, Dinosaurs, and Landmarks. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me, right in the description of this video. That's going to take you directly to the crowdfunding project page, and I'm sure that How Games would love your support.